So today I want to talk about these ugly plateaus that we tend to hit in our chess career, because chess isn't exactly like a lot of the other endeavors. If we run, for instance, we go out and we run 5 miles every day, and all of a sudden we're a little faster, a little stronger, a little better. We make gains. It's very, what do I want to say? It correlates very closely to the effort and the time we put in, and it moves in a very linear fashion. Okay, the same is true, let's say, in lifting weights or something. If we're in the gym, we go in 5 days a week, we're doing, all these reps, we get stronger. It happens. It's kind of almost like you can't escape positive correlation towards more lifting weights to more strength. It just happens. The same as the running idea. Same as school. The guys who spend, 10 hours studying usually pick something up. I mean, there's some that can't, but okay. So in chess, though, it's funny. There's people sometimes who study chess their whole life, and they never, break through 1100 or 1200. Okay, so now, there's other people who, let's say their plateau is 2400, and that's just a ceiling above their head they can never get through. And I think whether your ceiling is 2400 or 1100, there's certain commonalities that you can take into consideration to try to make improvements that will allow you to break through those plateaus. So the first aspect of plateaus, I believe, is psychological. The second, I'm simplifying this greatly, obviously, because I think chess is such a rich and complex thing. I could always spend 10 hours on this subject, but nobody would listen to it for 10 hours, okay? So I'm trying to cut through a lot of the stuff and get to the major points. So I'm going to divide it in this way: psychological, tactical, which is directly related to your calculation at the board, he goes there, I go there, type of thinking. And then there's three different skills, basically, that I consider in chess. These are obviously can be broken down in many different ways, but openings, chess strategy and structure, and endings. Okay, so to start out with, psychology, I think it's the most important one, I think. Okay, a lot of people go, no, it's tactics. He goes there, I go there. That's got to be, at the end of the day, the most important thing. But I would really say, in terms of plateaus, that isn't the case. Okay, I personally, I won't use, let's say, any names, but there was a player I played time after time, almost universally lost to him, a few draws, but no me winning the game. And I sat down here, and I will mention this player. He was quite a character around Rochester chess for many years, Don Stubblebine. And he just said, "Oh, who are you playing tonight?" And I told him. He said, "Well, he's too good for any of us." Damn, there was some cursing going on in my brain, and I said, "I'm going upstairs and I'm going to do some business." And I won the game. Now, I don't think necessarily it's a great idea to get mad, but I think what it did is it allowed me not to say, "Oh, I can't win this game." Okay, it allowed me, I gave myself permission that, no, I don't have to lose to this guy, because I'm too mad. I forgot about that for a minute. Okay, I'm going to actually win the game, and I won the game against the guy that, I'd never beaten before. And I think a lot of times we're very self-limiting. We set our own plateaus for us, and we listen to those things people say. And, well, so from a psychological perspective, there's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Okay, it's a fancy term for basically the people who don't know anything, they think they're great. The guys who are really good, they're like, "Oh, I'm not that good," and they limit themselves. Okay, so beyond that, they've even done a lot of recent things where they map with brain scans the activity in your frontal cortex. And when people who have lower self-esteem are told something negative, they react much more. You see much more activity in these places than the people who have a strong anchor that really believe in themselves. It doesn't create the same effect. Okay. Now, I tried to be able to what do you call it when you give something credit in to be able to tell you where it came from, but I can only tell the story.
Like attribution?
Yeah, basically.
Citation?
What's that? Citation. Yeah, exactly. Okay, for like a research paper or whatever. But
Reference.
A reference. There we go. Okay, so I wanted to do that, but I couldn't actually find it. But this is something anecdotally somebody had explained to me about a study which I found just blew me away. Okay, now I'd heard a lot of times where they'd split up groups. In one group they tell them they're geniuses, they're great, they don't stink, and all of a sudden they kill the test. And the group that needs remedial help and everything like that, they do terrible on the test. And they were homogeneous from the beginning. It should have never happened. They should have all had the same scores. But because they were told they were geniuses, or because they were told that they were remedial candidates, then they performed to their expectations. Now, that's kind of expected. But in this test, they threw in an extra twist. They said, we played this little trick on you. And we told you this, but it doesn't have anything to do with reality. And we'd like you to take the test again. And they found that they still couldn't shake that, even after they told it was all a trick. They still underperformed or overperformed because we're human. We're slaves to people's perception of us to some degree. So don't let people put limits on you. That's one of the big messages that I'm trying to. So. Also, there's constantly the thing that you'll see in here where the one guy's like, I always beat you, and you're no challenge for me, and then he sits down, and now he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. And the guy who kept his mouth shut, he's primed for an upset. There's a lot of things you can do to set the table for things to work against you psychologically. But if you want to try to attack your plateaus, you want to try to improve on these things and think the most of yourself and give yourself permission to win those games and beat those players that you think maybe you're not as good as. Okay, so let me move on from there. This first example, I just thought it was kind of a perfect example of people see what they are prone to see. I was going through a set of examples, and they were tactical examples. And you can see there's a huge material disparity here, okay? And in this book, they had something unique about it. These weren't games from masters. These were games from anyone, like 1,000 rated, 1,400 rated. It didn't matter. So this position for white had come up, and it said 2. Right? Now, the first one had been 1. It was mate in 1. This said 2. I thought it was mate in 2. So I was crunching away, and finally I found the mate in 2. It's knight h6, king h8, and g7 mates. That's obviously the mate in 2. But no, it was problem 2. It's mate in 1. Okay, I didn't even consider just rook g7 mate, which is ridiculous. Okay, but it's because that's what I was looking for. It was 2. I was looking for the 2-move solution. So even though the 1 solution is obviously much more obvious than the ridiculous 2-move solution that I found what I was looking for. So we tend to do that. So while we're considering ourselves in tactical situations, sometimes we've got to shake through those things that we develop blinders and only look for what we want to see. Okay, so let's go on to tactical training. Okay, so in tactical training, there's a lot of methodology that people have recommended over the years. There was a trainer named Kotov who had a whole series of books, and his big concept had to do with making these trees of moves and pruning them, and a lot of players thought this was like way too arduous to actually do at the board. I mean, if you were playing correspondence chess and not cheating using a computer, yeah, this would be very appropriate. But to actually sit there when you got an hour on the clock or something, it's not even effective. How could you even do that? So everyone kind of had their thoughts about these ideas. What I want to do is, mention some things for various levels that I've seen over the years. They just work. So players, I would say it's almost anybody over, under 1700, let's say. Under 1700, you probably need to become familiar with more patterns. Okay, it's probably the quickest way for you to improve. Okay, in the old days, we used to go through a book that had the answers, and the thing was you wouldn't solve to completion if you didn't see it right away. You would just check the answer. Okay, and then you'd go, oh, okay, and go to the next problem. If you got it, yeah, you check it off, I got it right away. But then you go back through until all of them are snap, snap, snap. Okay, where you're doing them instantly. Nowadays they have puzzle rushes that do basically the same thing. There's all kinds of programs that you can use that can test you. But the idea is familiarize yourself, not sit there for 20 minutes grinding on one position, because the greater benefit is going to be for you to see more patterns, not to spend more time grinding and sweating, huffing and puffing, and expending yourself on one problem. You need to see a lot more patterns to make you as good as the people around you. Once you start getting to that 1700-1800 range, especially breaking towards 2000 and above, there's another skill that comes in, and that's precision in calculation. And in fact, there was a strong Ukrainian trainer. I worked with a Ukrainian GM for a while. His name is Veskolov. And a friend of his, I don't remember the name offhand, but he said he had all his students were all like 2,500 plus in FIDE, and they all were amazing tacticians. He never allowed them to look at any puzzle rushes. Okay? Now, you might say, why? Wouldn't that be great? And he said, here's the thought process, that when you're doing puzzle rushes, you're under time pressure, and at a given point, they become complex enough where you're guessing at what the move should be instead of calculating precisely. And he wanted to take that out of the equation. So he suggested doing, they call them streaks, or they've got different names on different sites, but it's the one where you keep going until you miss kind of thing, rather than it's timed, because they want to build up your real power for precise calculation rather than racing to see how many you can get. Okay, that has less value than
where does it come in when you have a feeling about a move? So I understand about precision.
Intuition.
Yes. At what point do you want to prep that? Because look, when I'm doing puzzles, some of them I will fully calculate out, and some I'll look at like, all right, I know this is the move, I feel this, and it is right, but I haven't fully calculated it out. Should I be fully taking the time to calculate it out, or should I practice the intuition like I would in blitz?
Okay, so that's an excellent question. In fact, let me go to a problem which will kind of illustrate the idea there. Okay, is it two? Let's see. No, that was one. Two. Nope. Yeah, this is perfect. Okay, so in this position, this is actually an old Capablanca problem. But we look at white's position. I don't think there's anybody in here who knows. There's not. There's got to be a win here, right? Okay, come on. Look at that ridiculous king on d6. There's got to be a win. You know, it's a matter of opening up that king. So, what would be? Okay, Jim. What would you?
Rook takes f6.
Okay, that's an interesting move, but David.
You have to exploit the king. You have to either look at knight knight c4, or knight e4. You have to decide between those two.
Right, because you're going to follow with the other one. You're going to see the
Right.
result of the check. That seems like a very rudimentary way to draw the king out. And truthfully, I usually play a move like this without fully calculating. I'll be honest with you, because it's got to work, right? I shouldn't. I should actually be. These are all forcing moves. There's only really one move here, right? So why not force it? Okay, it should be forced. This is all forced, right? Yeah. Okay. So, and now it doesn't matter whether he takes here or here. They kind of transpose actually. Okay. So. Wait. Oh no. Here we go. We go this way. Yeah, because we make them take this, and we go here, and now it's there, right? Okay. So now I didn't see all that. Okay. Now I'll tell you, this was in a problem book. When I did the problem, I just whipped off knight c4. It's got to win. Objectively, I would say don't be lazy. Calculate like this. If you can, if you have that ability to do it, do that. But it's also, when you have such an overwhelming position, you can actually say, okay, wait a minute, I'm going to spend, even if it takes 15 minutes, if I've got, half an hour on my clock, I'm going to spend 15 minutes, I'm going to work out, it's a forced mate. This king's dead. You see what I'm saying? But you can reasonably make that assumption back here. If we go back, I don't think there's anybody who thought this king was, long for this world. This king is dying. So we could spend an inordinate amount of time looking for the kill. Okay? See, that's the thing in chess. I think if you look at all the situations where people miss or see tactics, okay, they miss tactics a lot of times that if I would have, tapped them on the shoulder when it was their move and said, even if they're 1100, they're going to find that 5-mover. Because they're like, I know it's here. I just got to find it. Okay? So the thing is, having some awareness. So kind of the short answer to your, depending on the time situation and the intensity level, the cost per move, let's say. That's an expression that I like to use. The cost per move. In this situation, if we start giving black, a few moves to consolidate, he may be fine here. So the cost per move is pretty heavy. Spend some time, find the right move. But that being said, if you were under pressure, you can kind of play a move like knight c4 with a lot of, confidence that your intuition is on the mark, right? So,
So one thing that Jim unintentionally did this for me. It's like a creativity practice. Basically, he set up a puzzle. It's like main 3. He told me it was not correctly set up. So I had to really creatively find out anything to do. And I said, okay, did you solve it yet? No, that's really hard. It's like, and I showed the position. Oh, he said, I forgot a piece. So he put the piece down. I was like, oh, I found it originally. But basically, it's impossible. He had to basically fill in the blanks to find out, what can I possibly do? Because the creativity had to be shown. Because there's no answer. But you have to do creativity and the feelings, you have to do it, or else you just have nothing. Sometimes you have to do this normally.
It depends. If you have the choice, though, you use especially calculation in positions where there's forcing moves. A lot of times there'll be a long series of forcing moves. Don't just leave off. If you can, take them as far as you can take them, to the end of the forcing moves, at least. Because sometimes there's something that's going to radically change So, dude, let's see. I have. Oh, so that intuition and practicing patterns and working on your calculation. These are all things that are possible. But then there's some things that are just learned. They're rote ideas. Okay, where you don't actually calculate. And I have an example of that today when I was trying to relax, because I'm always nervous before these talks. I'm like, am I going to have enough stuff? Or are they going to be interested in what I'm showing them? Is it going to be boring? I don't want to be boring. Okay, so I get nervous and I need to unwind. So sometimes I just play a game of chess. That's what I chose to do this afternoon. And I played a game of chess, and it turned out that it wasn't a bad game. So I can actually show you. See, I only cherry pick games that aren't terrible for me. If it was terrible, you'd never see it. Okay, so
Was this one that you played?
yeah. This is the game I played this afternoon on chess.com, which usually actually I play probably more on Lead Chess, but there on chess.com I'm terrible 14609, which all your opponents when you beat them go, oh, you're terrible, because I beat him on the clock, some dirty, slimy way, and I'm so happy too, and he's so mad, and I'm good with that, and 14609 is my zip. So, in any case, so I'm terrible 14609, and this is the game. Okay, I was white, I played e4, I don't always play e4, but a lot of times I play b3, but in any case, he played d5, which I like playing d5. I think it's a highly underrated defense. Okay.
It's bad.
Yeah, well, in this case, it doesn't look amazing. But I'll tell you, there's a master that used to play here. His name was Dave Hayes. And he was just mad. What's that?
He lived by that.
No, he was really mad. See, he played d4 all the time because of stuff like this. And you see where the queen just went? That's disgusting to him. He brings the queen out, he brings it back. He said, I've been looking at this position for 2.5 years and I can't find any advantage for white. Okay? So there's no computers back then, so he really could not find it. So in this position, I adopted, actually, by accident, the structure that I adopt against the queen a5 line, where I bring the bishop out to c4 early. See, there's an idea here of playing d3, so I don't give him counterplay against the d4 pawn, and it allows me flexibility with my kingside pawns to try to really poke at his light squared bishop. So I'm playing with these ideas, even though I don't really have any prep, truthfully, for queen d8. I just figure I'll bring my pieces out and win. Okay, but
Queen d8 actually I heard was busted.
well, even Fisher said that it's not necessarily clear.
Yeah, Queen d6 I think.
Wait a minute, is that Joe Lafnar? Get out of here. All right.
You and I got a short score to settle.
Oh, good luck with that.
I brought lots of cash.
Okay, I'll take it.
I'm not the same young little kid from a long time ago.
So wait a minute, what was that? Dave, were you here that day he showed up and tried to give me
was.
fives?
It's $5. You lost
Okay.
2 games back to back.
Okay, and then he ran,
Long
but it's
time,
fine,
long
it's
time.
fine.
I would happy to take that bet too if you want to. I got that.
Okay, so eventually here we get a very similar position to what I'm used to. Now, amazingly, this was played on chess.com, but there was already a game in the Lead Chess database in exactly this position. But and he played the same move I did. I think we're having a similar idea, but I like the way I did it better. He is 2400, so there's merit obviously. He wants to put the knight on g3 and harass that bishop. Okay, but I went for h3. I just want to play g4 as quickly as possible. Okay, and he allows me to do that. And he doesn't understand. See, this is a position that you get also in Kharroubi sometimes. Okay, in the Kharroubi advanced variation, a very similar position with the knight coming to f4 and the pawn comes to h4. Now, I already had thought of that I think he just overlooked the fact that that pawn could go another square to h4 because he played one passive move, and after this passive move, he's just lost because this is too quick. Something bad is going to happen to him on the light squares.
After h3, would you recommend h5, or is that an overreaction?
I would say that would create issues. Yeah, that would create its own problems for him.
Because you can also push through with h4 after.
Okay, well, let's take a look. Okay, I would think it's probably a little over the top.
Like to stop g4.
Oh, okay. So you're saying like a prophylactic.
Yeah.
Okay, so instead of developing, you're saying play a weakening move.
Or maybe h6 makes more sense, to be honest with you. Like just h6. Yeah.
I was looking at some move with h1.
Well, h6 though is going to make a hook too, though. I mean, I would say actually the more logical is looking to get some kind of counterplay in the center with like knight c6, e5, something that fights for the center. I mean, to me that seems the more logical choice, but no, in the game, playing bishop e7, getting ready to develop doesn't sound bad. I mean, it's not necessarily bad. This is fine, but once I do this and this, now he's on a razor edge. He has to do it very accurately, and he just makes one move that structurally, c6 is a standard move structurally here, but in this position, because of the speed of the kingside onslaught, it just loses. You need to do something, quicker in the center. You always want to focus on the center, if you can. And yes, here it's just lost. And so, I mean, like for example, if I didn't play, now structurally, this is the right idea for him if I were playing slightly slower. If I play bishop e3, for instance, which looks like the developing move, he plays knight d5, he's already better. No problems. Yeah, go.
Are there any two dumb? I don't want to ask a dumb question.
No,
but
there's no dumb questions except the ones you don't ask.
Okay, so I'm like a mid-1300s level player.
Yeah.
I do the puzzles just like anybody else, and you were talking about pattern recognition and growing that towards the
Right.
1700. What I feel like when I play often is I don't have like a coherent strategy. I can see a lot of the patterns, even some of the better ones I'm starting to see, but it kind of feels like when I'm rolling my pieces out, I'm hoping for some one or two move thing to emerge and fall in front of me at my lap, rather than, so like when the first problem you showed, I was with it and I could understand, okay, I'm coming up with ideas. What you guys are talking about here, you've now completely lost me, and I understand it's probably more advanced talk.
Yeah. Okay. That guy back there. That guy. He's one of the strongest players in the city. Okay. He won the New York State Scholastic. He beat grandmasters. They're scared of him. They're like, no, don't, not James Altunen. Forget it. And they run. Okay. So no. There's some strong players in the room. Okay. Well, that guy TJ, he blows up everything too.
Well, only his own king.
Well, I guess my question is, I guess, like, are there puzzles and tactics for more of like an opening strategy, not an opening, but like.
Well, see, that's the point. Back, in my day, we did a lot of things with books. Nowadays, people don't do as much with books. There was actually a book that something like The Best Move or something. My coach from Yugoslavia recommended it to me because it was just that. It wasn't where there was always a tactical solution. Sometimes it was you put your knight in on d5 and you just occupy that out. That was, or you're going to take on f6, which eliminates his control of d5, and then post your knight on d5, and you're going to dominate the position. See, that's the whole thing. You have to be able to separate these situations of when it's a positional, move that's required, and when there's fireworks and things that have to happen. A lot of times, some of the first things you want to do is look at the material balance. Is everything balanced? Did your opponent do anything that should be punished? Okay, if he's made 10 pawn moves in a row, you might go, he's behind in development. Oh, there's got to be a pressure. Okay? But if he's doing everything right, and you're going, I've got to attack. That might be folly. You might be just throwing the game away, attacking him when all his pieces are on the right squares and he's developed. And why are you attacking him? Just feel lucky? I mean, no. you see what I'm saying? So there, in chess, there's justice. So if you attack something that's weak, you have every, reason to think you can be successful. If you attack for no reason, you won't be. And that's why this game, I'm actually not too unhappy about this game, because this guy, while he wasn't, he was a 2,000 plus player on chess.com. So I mean, he's not a grandmaster or a FIDE master or anything probably. He's a guy who plays pretty decent chess. But that being said, he gets miniaturized here, and the nice part about it is I really didn't do much. So, okay, so here, wait a minute, I didn't play this wrong move. I played the accurate move. But see, this move I had been, planning from my whole opening setup is planned around this. Okay, this wasn't an accident. You see what I'm saying? This was something I was trying to poke that his light squared bishop doesn't have enough squares. That was one of my concepts. That's why there's no knight on f3 where you could just pin it on g4 and then he can always take it. There wasn't that at any point here. He didn't have an option to, I'm just going to trade off my... No, you're going to be stuck with that thing. It's going to be back there. It's going to be a target for my pawns rolling. And you're going to run out of squares is what I'm hoping. Okay. So, and in this position, now it's over. He's just, there's no room for the bishop. Okay, no matter what he does, it doesn't change anything. He creates a few distraction moves, but at the end of the day, his bishop's still trapped. There's no escape or anything. And the game actually, it's kind of funny. It ends. Now, I never calculate. Go ahead, TJ.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, so you can finish this thought. But I wanted to go back to the position prior to you trapping the bishop and see what would have happened if you just played like h6 or something. Because even in that position, it says you were almost winning. I was curious as to like how you exploit that before you trap the bishop, before he plays knight d5. What would you play for the knight? After h6, so go back a couple more. Before he played knight d5. After because this position already is plus a lot for white.
Oh yeah, no. C6 was a mistake, TJ. He didn't engage the center.
That was then you blundered again by playing knight d5 and just lost the bishop. I'm saying what happens if you just play like h6?
No, but that's a computer blunder. When you're already going to have a structurally unplayable, 1.5 is lost.
I know, but I'm saying, how do you show that it's lost? Because
you're curious.
It's lost when he's down a bishop.
No,
It's not
okay.
as obvious when it's not down.
So you're saying what would happen
how do you exploit it
if he plays h6?
Yes, to save the...
Well, he's going to lose like a scat of stuff, right?
Oh, right, okay. Right.
It's like everything's collapsing, light squares. It's just.
Okay, so what is Black's best move other than? Does Black have a better move than h6 then?
No, that's kind of the point.
Okay.
Something bad's going to happen. He's going to lose the bishop or he's going to lose the house.
Yeah. Right.
It's his choice. How do you want to die?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Yasser Seirawan said it best when he was explaining his refutation to the Budapest Gambit, and he says if Black plays differently, they lose differently.
Right.
Okay. No, it's bad. So, and he credited Fisher said that in the King's Gambit that he published the refutation for, but I don't know. That refutation wasn't quite as impressive as Yasser's, but in any case. Okay, so let's, this game's pretty much over. Let's move on to my next chapter. Let's see. Oh, yeah. This is some other aspect of tactics is just rote memorization, basically, that you know a pattern. Okay. Now, long ago, I had a teacher who showed me the Scotch Gambit, and it's funny too because it's coming back now. Okay, it's even played at like the 2700 level. They play this stuff too. So, what's very popular here, like the computer will recommend bishop to b4 check. Okay, which. That's just like some computer. I think the computer's trying to make sure they end up a pawn or something with Black. But okay, so White can do this, and after captures, White can just castle, or the very practical move where you'll win a lot of games with this, and people will do this. They'll play bishop e7. Like, if you look at,
That's book.
on Lee chess, okay, there's 1,300 people, okay, not 1,300 people play bishop e7 here.
Bishop c5 too.
What's that?
And bishop c5.
Yeah, well, they're all bad, okay, but bishop e7 is much worse.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, so bishop e7, everyone sees the win there. Yeah. So and this, when you play a move like this isn't because you calculated this brilliant queen d5. It's because you know this move. You just know there's queen d5 here. It's a standard. It's why you play this opening, is to play this little trick. Okay, but if, for instance, black had played bishop to c5, which a lot of people play, okay, 1,300 played this too, you still get a very bad situation here after Vinny. What do you think the move would be here for white?
Well, I mean, it's saying to play takes F, but
Yeah, no, and that would be very correct. Okay, now the cute part about this is that after this check, okay, if after this, why is it not going?
Maybe black's better here. You just want to show us.
Check. Check.
So we're
Okay. So yeah, okay. There we go. I lost my connection for a second. Okay. So check. Well.
We can see it.
We can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So check. The point is that if black plays king to f8, we can take the bishop with check. If it plays king to e8, we don't take the bishop.
Queen to h5.
Yeah, we provoke g6 or king to f8, and we take it with check again. Okay, so and in all these cases, white has a nice advantage. Very comfortable. But this wasn't something that you needed to calculate or anything. You knew this was here. This is why you played these openings, is because there's this little trick, this joke that you get to play with queen d5 that wins. Okay, and in some positions, there's even a joke with the bishop a5 where white sacrifices twice on f7, with like some knight g5. The bishop and the knight get exchanged off, and it looks like we're down a piece, but then there's queen h5 check, picks up the bishop on a5. That's in another line. But, these are things that they're not actually calculated. People didn't invent the wheel usually. Oh, I just played this randomly. No, I knew there was this trick. Okay, and this is what I'm playing for. Okay, so there's a lot of that goes on. So tactics can come in a lot of different ways. There's also, we can do work on our ability to calculate tactically if we're so inclined and industrious enough to work on visualization. Now, long ago when I was coming up, there was a book I read by Buckley. His name was Charles Buckley, okay? And it was Practical Chess Analysis. And what he advocated was visualizing a board and going through exercises in your head, visualizing various moves around the board, okay, with the pieces. So this can be, like, let's say you can't get to sleep. Don't count sheep. Get your knights out there, hop them around the board, your bishop, slide them around the diagonals, okay? And it helps make your visualization powers in chess better. Okay, that's the concept anyway. Let's see. Oh, another interesting idea that was put forward was the concept that when like in chess, we talk about loose pieces dropping off. So if there's a lot of pieces hanging, we start to look for combos. Like, oh, can I attack this and attack this too, or things like this. And one of the interesting concepts that I had read about was if you have something that's attacked once and defended once, count that as loose. And the more times that you have it, So, like, if, for instance, you have something that's loose, you have something that's attacked once, guarded once, and then you have something that's attacked 3 times, guarded 3 times, where is going to be the weakest point in that? Can anybody tell me what would be the weakest point out of those?
The loose piece.
No, it's the other way around. Because when you have 3 things necessary to hold this, it's far more likely you can find a way to deflect one of those or interfere with one of those. So that's more precarious, that you have somebody tied that way. That was his argument anyway, and he was a strong player, so I took it as, yeah, that makes sense. So I guess that's as much as I wanted to talk about tactics directly, I think. Let's see. We talked about this. Oh, I gotta wait for it to reload. Okay, so hopefully it will reconnect.
How, when you're moving the pieces, you're visualizing, how in depth should it be? Like,
For you?
I can play Bishop to A6 and F1 for 8 hours, and that's not going to challenge me.
No. So
Like,
for
like
you,
power house?
for somebody at your level, David, what you may want to do is go, oh, geez, that game I played with Jacob Schnell? I'm going to play through that in my head and try to analyze it while I'm doing it.
Did my differential equation solved recently?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I told that some people recommend just like blindfold us.
Yeah. No, that's my first teacher from Yugoslavia. He said he and his friend used to sit in class and trade moves back and forth. They'd write on a little paper their move, and they didn't have a board. They were just playing blindfold.
Yeah, it's just blindfold. It forced the do it.
Okay. Oh, so now here's another thing conceptually. Where you're applying tactics in a game. Okay, and this is always, it's almost like a totally different skill than what we've been looking at, where we're winning material or attacking or trying to mate. Okay. In a position like this, now it's funny. What would be? Does anybody have their preference in this position of what they would want to do?
No, G3.
Where?
Knight G3 is not possible.
G3?
No, you can play knight to zero right away.
No, he's joking.
Over
Joking.
the
It hangs a knight. Okay. Okay. So if you were black here, what would be your choice? Okay.
Well, so if you take the knight, you're up material, right? So you get the what's called the rest things that you can trade material your own material. But I would rather play knight d6 because the guard's up 7, but then you have to okay, knight d5.
Okay, so you're a little conflicted, it sounds like?
Yeah, I don't know if there's
Oh, okay. Okay, well, no, which I think that's the best way to feel. Because it's funny, because this position, when I showed it to a friend of mine who was an IM, he said, just play knight d6. Okay? He said, you can't be worse after knight d6. This was before there was computer analysis and things like that. The computer will tell you, you take on c3. Okay? But, now here's the thing. When you take on... Now, this used to be played by Laszlo as white. And he won a lot of miniatures, and for very good reason. This is a very, very venomous line for white. Okay? Because after this is captured, the most natural move here looks like d6.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, you can't allow a knight takes e5, right? Okay, you got to play d6. But d6 loses on the spot.
This is they call it the Stafford.
No. This is probably a little, truthfully, objectively better than the Stanford Gambit. That's probably a little worse, although it's more famous. It's more famous now. But this was all based on people who played this knew objectively it wasn't right, but they knew it was so hard you wouldn't find it. Basically. Okay, so in this position, most people, like, okay, when we go to the Lee chess database, people know theory unbelievably. F6 is the move here. Now, if you haven't seen this position, you might be a little slow to play F6. Okay, that's not, and for good reason, F6 doesn't solve all the issues either, because there's knight to H5 now. And you can't just play like C6 or something, because queen H5 is going to be unpleasant. Okay, so you pretty much have to play G6. And now here's the whole point. White hasn't castled yet. Okay, so they're going to immediately have this tempo here of playing this. Now you can see the computer evaluation immediately jumps. This is in black's favor. But not everyone's going to find queen E7 here. Okay, now, and I'm very, very confident after you play F5, they might not find queen G7, okay? And yeah, it's the type of thing. Right now, black's virtually has a one game. They've consolidated, but I mean, it's so complex. There's so many tricks here. In fact, if an interesting thing was if they played what appears to be the obvious move, C6. C6 looks like it would be a good idea, right? I mean, you just could play D5 and then you're protected. Okay, so what white plays F5 anyway, D5, and now white ignores the bishop hanging and takes FG. And now, in this position, you see 51 people play DC. And now, white's at least fine. If black finds all the moves, he'll be equal. and he's got to do this king run, king D7. All this doesn't look that easy or exciting for black. Yeah, I want to know all the lines to have my king run over.
So was the D6 move bad because of the bishop takes the F?
I'm sorry. You know, I saw a knowing look on some of the guys' faces, and I should have showed that. I'm sorry. Okay, so if D6, after knight to G5, there's just no good answer here.
So it's not knight takes E5?
Yeah, can you get rid of knight takes E5?
Might take.
Oh, just bishop
You
E6.
you can get away with it. It's not nearly as clear. This is very clear. Yeah, this is a very clear, precise way to play it.
Yeah.
Because after bishop E6, here's why this is so clear. Okay, this is all forced. And now queen to F3, and you'll note that there's F7 and B7 hanging. And this is really lights out. This is not a happy deal. We know we're losing here if we're black. Yeah, no need to overthink things. Just take this. The win.
Knight takes E5 looks like cooler, but
Yeah. Oh no. And you know, I think I used to play it that way
yeah.
until the computer said, "Well, why don't you just play knight G?" Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So-
it looks really nice. Yeah, that's not hard.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go back.
So if you don't mind,
Sure.
one thing that you were trying to show, I know you talked about chess psychology.
Okay.
In that beginning, like that black line, he gets to find all those moves, but like what you're kind of avoiding is his own pattern making skills. Like the moves that black is trying to find there are very, like for a computer, yes, they have a decision tree, they have like.
No, that's the whole reason
That's
that
right,
I see.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing me back on point. Okay, because the point that I was trying to make is, my friend was an IM for a reason. Okay, he said, I'm not going to even play in your playground, take on C3 and give you all this exciting life. I'm going to play knight D6.
Yeah.
Was
And-
this Nicholas?
Yeah, and if you don't know, you know, how to play chess better than me, you're not going to beat me in this position. I'm solid. There's nothing I can give this pawn back. I don't have any problem. I haven't played any silly F6 move. Okay, I'm going to be able to castle. My life's good. What are you doing?
Right.
Okay, rather than try to, you know, refute the whole situation. It's it's a whole different approach. Now nowadays, there's more people who I know I'm going to play Queen E7 and Queen G7. They know all those moves.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're just going to win that position because of that. But in any case.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, so now I actually didn't mind showing that. This is actually that these tactics and ideas come up in the end game that even like the strongest players can be, crushed. This game is actually from two players that one of them is probably the strongest player not to be world champion, Korchnoi, and he's playing Karpov here, and Karpov is black, and it looks if there's not something decisive for black, white looks like gold. He's got two rook pawns, which are the worst type of pawns for knights to deal with, and a total of 3 pawns and a rook for 2 knights. Come on. It doesn't. It's not even close. But there's tactics here because of the extreme position of the black pieces that the king's exposed. Now this is something that I wanted to point out in chess strategy. It's funny too because I had a student who kind of called me recently and he says, couldn't you just in chess say that chess is just you trying to show that the opponent's king is vulnerable, and it was something along this. He just simplified it down to its essence. Okay, and really it's king safety for both sides. You don't want your king getting exposed, and you want to expose your opponents. At the root of the game, that's what it's about. In this position, that does that. Black, with his 2 knights and his king in this aggressive position, has an incredible mating attack here. That I'm sure from a distance this wasn't easy to foresee. White's got all these positional pluses, outside pawns, and it's just a forced loss. So, Jim, you see that?
I think
Okay, yeah.
Knight to F3.
Right, there you go. Because you're just going to open it up like a can opener if it will move.
Well, I understand. You said it's white's move.
That's white move.
That's why it's plus 3.4.
Yeah, switch.
Oh, so if white were to move, it's obviously plus. Yeah, I did this inappropriately. Okay, so we'll all visualize the finish. It would be knight f3 check. Pawn would have to take because if you went to the corner, knight f2 would be mate, right? So takes, rook check, king has to go to the corner, the mate. Right? So a very pretty mate, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate it. That's a shame. Okay, so now this is actually maybe the one of the most important positions I want to show tonight. Okay, because this really, in my mind, illustrates a big breakdown between players and how they see things. Okay. So, if anybody has a candidate move for white here, you just raise your hand if you've got a candidate move for white, because I'm waiting for at least 2 candidates that I want to hear.
Bishop takes F7.
Bishop takes F7. Oh, now I'm just guessing. James has a motivation that if they play queen takes, the bishop hangs. And if they play king takes, queen d5 is very unpleasant, right?
Yeah, but I think queen takes is appropriate, right? So,
Okay, so that it would be forced, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay,
King takes
so there's bishop takes f7. Is there any other interesting moves for white here?
Like rook c1, sorry, guys.
Rook c1.
Yeah.
Okay, now James, are there any flaws to rook c1, or is that a great move?
Rook e1 is better. Oh, but then we have backward mate. I don't know. I have to calculate.
Okay, so what James did is he looked one move farther, that if your rook is deflected and you capture on e1, and then the Wait a minute. So
And then
bishop
bishop
takes,
E4, you
queen
can't do.
takes.
Oh, queen G3 check. Yeah.
Oh, queen G3 check.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. What if queen G3 check? So rook C1, queen G3, and what if white just takes the queen?
Bishop takes queen check.
Okay. So and what's that situation?
I don't know yet. It looks like you might have a nice rook check, but then you have to worry about packing. I mean,
Is there a perp maybe?
okay, so king G2, rook E.
Okay. So wait. Rook C1,
But I have one. Oh, pawn takes.
check.
Yeah, just king F3. I think you're fine.
Pawn takes, check.
Oh, he has rook B3 check.
And-
Yeah, so if king G2, rook E2, then rook B3, then he has a nice bird.
Yeah. Oh, so he has a perpetual check here.
Yeah.
Okay. So which continuation do we like better as white?
Well, we don't want to do a curve.
Okay. We know. Heck no.
Yeah, we like a.
You know it's funny.
Might be better with a-
Long ago, there was a player. His younger brother started playing. He was playing in the kids tournament, and it was his first tournament back there. And the guy had like 3 queens, a rook. He was checking it back and forth, and he was moving back and forth. And he goes, he keeps checking me back and forth. I said, yeah. He said, well, I can't have that. And he went right out and got checkmated. So like afterwards, I kind of explained to him, that checking back and forth, that's a tie. When you've got like 3 queens extra, you're up against, all you got's a king, you never get anything better than it. You might, he goes, oh yeah, okay, yeah. You saw the logic there. Okay, so if a draw may be the preferable option, we might want to consider the draw. So
That's true.
is the draw the preferable option, or is the winning we're going to win a pawn, right?
Well, he gets a 5 at the end, right? So,
What's
yeah, we'll be a pawn up. That is nice. Like, the way I
Right,
do it.
take queen.
Here? Maybe actually. I don't know either. He just queen takes up 2. The dark sword bishop looks terrible.
Oh! Did somebody say something about that dark sword bishop? That's kind of the way the Grandmaster put this out. Now, personally, I would grab the draw here. This bishop is just abysmal, and some, with knights, I'm not as good a calculator as some guys, back there. I'm not going to give any names or anything, but I'm sure they can probably go into these dangerous waters and come out. I don't want to fight against a knight with a terrible bishop like that. A knight and a queen tends to harmonize really well together, and I'm too worried I would end up getting checkmated and be on the bad side of that. So that's what I would do. I would grab the draw. But the Grandmaster actually said it's just, it's like enough compensation in his mind, he thought. To me, practically, I'd rather be black playing the knight and queen against that terrible bishop. That's just me. Okay.
Hey, Cliff, where was this?
Sure.
Where did this position arise? Who played it?
This was a Grandmaster position because this is from, a world champion position, because it's in the book, it's by Axel Smith. He's a Grandmaster who's written a lot of really good books, but this one is all about tactics, and all the examples in the whole book are from world champion, on one side of it.
That's woodpecker method? That's like
Yes, woodpecker.
Yeah,
That's,
it came out of the second one.
yeah, that's a positional guide though. It's a little different.
Oh, it is? Okay, that's a different one.
In any case, that positional tidbit in this made this a little more interesting to me. That even though it's a tactical manual, he had to go, wait a minute, I put an asterisk on this one that I give full credit for you letting to allow the perp is full credit, because he said that, because he thinks, it was fine. I thought it was truthfully better, but in any case, we each have our preferences.
Question with the perp though.
Sure.
Where does the king go? Like if it goes to G2, you can decide to just play rook takes I think G3, right? So the other line.
So
I didn't finish the card, but like
so wait, if rook c1
yeah, rook c1, queen
check
right?
takes check.
G2. Oh, is it?
I think he'd have to play this, right?
Because knight takes G3. I'm not sure.
And then on this, there's just check, right? He's got to go back.
He plays king G2. Yeah, so if rook takes G3, he gets in trouble with back, I think. Okay, that makes sense. Because if king G2, right, you can't play rook takes G3, but then I guess just king H2, and then black's like, oh, shucks. So then I get back to the thing. Okay.
Oh, that's cute.
That's
Yeah.
all I was asking, yeah. That's fine.
Okay. So let's go on.
Thanks for
No problem. Okay, so this is the utilization of advanced endgame skills. This is a game actually between Fabiano Caruana as white and Magnus Carlsen as black. And it's somebody in this room's favorite opening. No names. Okay, so but and black pretty they equalize here, I would say, or at least close. But the end game here is to me amazing.
This is the world chess match.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, was it? Okay.
No, I don't think they played any Frenches in the actual.
No.
Yeah.
This is probably, I think,
Yeah.
Siegfried.
Oh no! Wait a minute. This was, I think, Norway chess. Actually. So okay. In any case, this move. This is a nice move. I like this. Okay. Now, in the past, I wouldn't have been quite so comfortable. Now, can anybody tell me why I might have been a little uncomfortable about this?
As white?
Is white.
Well, you're blocking your light square bishop, and the idea is to play C3 to help support G4.
Okay, but so I mean, moving that's almost standard. Moving it out of the way, getting C3 in. What's the fly in the ointment that I might have had an issue with? Positionally.
Castle?
No. See, the game isn't prone to open up very quickly here. Okay, we're largely, we have a block center. TJ.
Because if he exchanges on D4.
Right. No. I've got to be really careful about that because, in general, as a positional aspect, I'm very nervous about the control of D4. If I can't take with a pawn there, is my E pawn going to become overextended? Does F6 like just break up the house and I lose? I mean, French players do that stuff. Have you ever played F6 and ruined your opponent's life and center? Yeah, okay, yeah, he's done that. He'll do it. You know that those French players, they love to do that stuff. So I would be very nervous about it. In this particular position, white is fast enough, playing a move like knight takes D4, that he's going to be fine there. But that's what I'd want to really worry over. Is that a threat? Is CD a problem? In this particular position, it is. Okay.
Queen C1's a really nice move.
Yeah. No, well, Caruana plays pretty good chess.
Well, yeah.
All right. So.
He's up in the conversation of like never world champion, like Paul Carroll's.
Yeah.
He should have beat Carlsen, and they didn't have the rapid, or what is it called, Armageddon.
I don't know about all that. He's a very good player, but Carlsen is Carlsen. So, in any case, we won't. I like to be patriotic as much as the next guy. I don't know.
Very academic.
Okay, so in this position, although black is still struggling to activate his light squared bishop, white's pieces don't have amazing harmony and things. I mean, this is very close to dynamically balanced, I think. I think it's a very interesting position. Okay. Now, I was surprised here that white played bishop to G2 instead of bishop to H3. I mean, it looked like that was more exciting, but I guess the having the F3 square guarded was more important in Caruana's estimation.
It's more solid to me.
So, yeah, but sometimes you want to, it's what you're doing to your opponent, not what you're stopping him from doing. In any case, CD, we've got a great game here. And this really looks, to me, very balanced. I mean, these guys are playing so far above my head that, you know what I'm saying? I'm just kind of standing back and, oh, this is really cool. Okay, but we're going to get to the point where I'm going to take more interest because I can follow what's going on. Okay, so here we go. Now, this ending white goes into, okay, this is kind of impressive in my mind, the way Caruana exploits his space advantage here. And I think this is instructive, okay? Because, I mean, I don't think black can really avoid very well in exchange of queens. Okay, so he goes for it, okay? And now this move, F5, that's beautiful chess, I think, okay? Because now he's he's transformed, there you go. Okay, transformed this position into one that's much harder, I think, for black to play. Okay, and I think this was a really, really nice idea he had here. Okay, now, and Carlsen is still Carlsen. He's not going to roll over.
Was the F5 like strictly to just challenge the center? And to
Well, no, it's more than that. Okay, first off, if there's ever EF, the D pawn is going to be a chronic weakness, and it's going to be stopping all of black's pieces from utilizing those squares. See, if he didn't have that knight could come to D5. I mean, there's a lot of things, and what he does when he plays F5 is he gains the F4 square for his bishop, his knight. It's a clearance maneuver as well. It's a multi-purpose move. It's kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
This is nice chess. Okay, so and now he's focusing on the center. He's exchanged off his bad bishop. This was all kind of masterful. I mean, I'm understating it. He's playing the guy who's the ultimate positional master, and he's outplayed him here. I mean, this is. I mean, part of it is he had a little something, and he kept it going. He found ways to maintain that initiative. I mean, it's pretty amazing play. The position that I want to get to is where the game actually goes from unpleasant to lost, and it's like just on a thread. It's all based on Carlsen missing a resource that he needed to find, which this is the part of the game that really I thought was just too cool. So, okay. Almost there. Okay, so yes, that was a mistake. So after E3, okay, wait, yeah, he should have played, yeah, instead of rook c3 here. Okay, so when he played rook c3 here, that was overtly aggressive for black. Okay, so let me show you what would have held the game. And it's not easy, obviously, but it speaks to how rich chess is that this exists. So if black would have exchanged here, oops, sorry. If he would have exchanged and played knight takes f4. Now obviously, when you exchange pieces and there's a passed pawn like on d5, it can be very scary, and you want to have your calculation dead on, obviously, to not, see that that's just a winner, that the d5 pawn's going to cost you a piece or something. Okay, but in this position, there's this maneuver where the rook gets hit, and then now there's a threat of knight to e2, we're threatening the d4 pawn, king moves, and now we're hitting d4 and a3, and when he moves, we don't even take it, And you can see we've got this, Black's got this under control and should be able to draw this, actually. Okay, but even Magnus Carlsen misses a resource sometimes. And you can see what happens in a few moves. He's actually in serious trouble. But this only happens because Caruana plays, amazing moves here, obviously. Okay. Yeah, that's the. Oh, okay. So I guess I'm going to wrap things up. I actually wasn't. Let me just kind of draw things up. Yeah. Okay. So when we're trying to work through our plateaus, first we have to conquer basically ourselves. We want to, not let people, keep us down with their negativism. The methods for doing that are working on our tactics and our game skills, which include openings, chess strategy and structures, and endgames, very important. That was about what I had to cover. If anybody has any questions.
Might I have the boldness to say that getting over the stigma of what people think of you, maybe your relationship with God is the key to get over that?
Okay. Yeah, see, I never comment on politics or religion. I just don't. I don't go there. I'm sorry. All right. Anything else? Thank you, Mike, for all your work setting things up.